Before we start the lecture, I'd like to request Farhan to come up for tilawat, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yasin wal Qur'anil Hakim innaka laminal mursalin ala siratal mustaqim tanzilul azizir rahim litunzira qauman ma unzira abahum fahum ghafilun. Sadaqallahul azim.
Thank you, Farhan. Now I'd like to call upon Chairman FIAP Karachi Chapter, Ramesh Beg, to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all to this what is going to be a very educative and exciting lecture by architect Ejaz Ahed. Thank you all for being here. Will not take up more time. I think we already have a full house, and I think we should give the stage to architect Ejaz Ahed. Thank you so much.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think we can move this out. I don't trip. I was standing back there and somebody asked me, what are the chances an architect will go to jail? I said, used to be 0, now about 99. Okay. And there's a reason for that too. So, someone call it a lecture, no lecture. This a talk on my experiences and what I've learned getting a beating. ऐसे नहीं सीखता, मार खा के सीखता है और कोई तरीका नहीं है. Can I move to the next? So this talk actually came about because recently, there was this fall of a few laborers that, mashallah, building that was supposed to be putting some curtain wall up, they fell down. And they started saying, architect to put to bunker. So the question was, architect said, what do I have to do with this? Then I saw on the chat, on the FIAP chat, everybody made a comment. This is not right, that's not right. Architect को होना चाहिए, नहीं होना चाहिए, should be responsible, not responsible. Then somebody said a very important word. He said, but you sign on the dotted line saying that you will supervise the job. Okay? So all of that led me to think maybe a lot of us are not aware of where we are in the industry today and how and why we have reached this stage. Okay? What is our status as architects? And so this is actually a very good opportunity for me to share this, and I really thank Ramesh, who wrote to me and suggested कि जी आप आके आज कुछ बोल रहे हैं, मुझे पता है, I can share with you. So here we are. Thank you very much, IAP, and my greetings to all my colleagues, senior, junior, and all interested people. I've been surprised so many people showed up, really, because this could be quite boring for a lot of people. They would either get bored, they would either go to sleep, or they will get shocked. Okay, depending on how you take
how you take what the future will hold. So let me just start from a few different aspects. An architect, went like Ramesh's neighbor. Yeah, he had a swimming pool. That was leaking. He said, yeah, pani kam ho jata hai. So, they were talking as neighbors. Aap architect hai, what do you think we should do? So Ramesh said, yeah, we'll have to empty the pool to see why it's leaking. So the next thing you know, he went to his office, whatever. This guy pumped the whole water out and he spread it all over the street. And all the neighbors sued him. And when it went to court, so the guy said, look, the architect told me to empty it. And the court actually said the architect, who the hell were you to tell him that? Did he hire you to say it? No. This is the extent of how our liabilities are changing. The question of rights and obligations are relatively simple. The owner basically gives you requirements and gives you back, but you have during how you write a contract, how you do what you do during construction, and what you do afterwards is all what we're going to talk about today. Okay, you look at. I have a friend who is also a businessman, very big business. So I told him, tell me one thing. You hire so many architects, so many so and so. Tell me, if I came to you wearing a suit, okay, would you give me a job? Versus some guy with long hair, sleeves rolled up and whatever. He said, probably to the guy who has long hair and sleeves rolled up. He said, why? Because आप तो साफ आदमी हैं, आप तो कमरे से निकलेंगे नहीं, ये तो ऐसा लगता है कि बाहर आके निकलेगा, and he'll get my job done. So the perception of how people have of the architect is still the actual builder. Some people actually believe that you build, and that's not here. It's universal, worldwide. It's amazing. He said, you mean you guys don't build? I still get a lot of questions asked, the other day some new director of a company came in and said, ये contractor slow है. तो मैंने कहा हाँ है. तो कहने लगे आपने क्या किया इसका? मैंने कहा बड़ा वार्न किया उसको. कह रहे हैं ये तो आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है. मेरे कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है? कहने लगे हाँ आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है. आप लाए ना इसको? नहीं ये तो बिड से आया है, काम किया कर रहा है. So the perception is still very much that. Look at I'm going to give you a run through on examples first. Look, Pakistan National Council of the Arts, Alhamra as you call it now. One of the roofs fell down some years ago. And so for a year ago they resigned, they put him in jail. Okay? They put Nayyar Dada in jail. Why? Because छत गिर गया, architect responsible है, अंदर कर दो. So, and he actually went inside. Now that's after 18 years after the building had been built. 18 years. Just imagine. So obviously after investigation they found out what happened. He said, well, PWD maintains the building, and every year they kept putting a layer of concrete on top for the waterproofing. So 18 years of 18 layers overloaded the roof and it fell down. Okay? But the architect went to jail. So this is how it's happened. This is not the day and age where most of the kings and the monarchs they built these things. Okay, the poor man really didn't build anything. Only the kings built. And the kings had these master builders. All these master builders had quite a power position with the king, and they would go and say, "Jo banana hai, I trust you. बादशाह की दरबारी है ये तो बना देगा." जैसे उसका म्यूजिशियन होता है, एक आर्टिस्ट होता था, एक आर्किटेक्ट, एक मास्टर बिल्डर, whatever. जो ये, however, दोनों चीजें हो सकती हैं. If the king didn't like it, he'd throw his neck off. Possible. If he liked it, इनाम मिल जाते थे. Sometimes if he really liked it, उसके हाथ काट दिए जाते, so he would never repeat the same thing. ठीक है ना? तो ये मास्टर बिल्डर के ईरा से ये टाइम चेंज हुआ है. और अब हम कहाँ आए? Where are we now? We are now that the kings and all these big clients that used to be have now been converted to either your corporate or business people. Now, corporate and business people are very Rokoda conscious and time conscious and quality conscious. Okay? So they are saying, okay, now you're going to build, and if you do build, then everything, time, quality, whatever is, everything is your responsibility. And this has happened. Now we are very, very similar to, let's say, design consultants, engineering consultants. Not much difference. Because all our agreements and whatever all generate from engineering into architecture. All the architects' contracts that you see now are what is called FIAP based. FIAP is the international organization based in Paris, which has for engineers. Architect का term तो बहुत बाद में आया है ना. I mean, I remember even when I came back as early as 1974, you went to a site and you said कि अच्छा ठेकेदार से आप कौन है शाम में. जैसे भाई आर्किटेक्ट है बता दें. अंदर जाता था, कहता था ऑडियो इंजीनियर साहब आया है. ठीक है ना? You started to develop the term architect after the 70s, which is pretty late in our whole era. So while we all want to do great things, and all of us are. I may offend a few people during this thing also, not with any intent, but with the intent of giving us a safer future. Okay, I give you another story, because this is all about stories and how the lawyer will eventually twist your stories to get into the liability mode. Okay, we had a client in Islamabad. The building was almost complete 1 month before opening, and it rained. So it rained for 1 week. 3 weeks later, the rain had stopped, but it was still raining inside. हम सर पकड़ के बैठे हुए हैं कि what happened here? Well, I mean, what happened? And this was an overseas client. So it was a French client. So the French sent an architect from there. He said, go and check out the architect's drawing before we sue it. So they all came and they looked at the drawing and they said, drawing बिल्कुल सही डिटेल बनाया उन्होंने. तो हुआ क्या? What happened? Such interesting things happen. And we were, in a sense, supervising the job. We had a representative on site, the contractor on site. Now, so we did a great analysis. I mean, it was very nice, it got resolved, but the analysis was very interesting. And I tracked it down to the fact that how could this have happened? What had happened was that the contractor, you put layering, this layer, waterproofing layer, this layer, top layer. The guy had done everything upside down. He did. The contractor had executed everything upside down. So I said, how can that happen? So I looked at our field staff. I said, "Well, ye kya ho gaya? Oh, why?" So when we investigated, we found out that roof ke upar, nobody wanted to go up, it was too hot. So they sent this junior guy, the contractor sent this junior guy up there, said, "Here's a drawing, yaar, ye upar chhat ki roofing karwa de." Our guys, big shots again, garmi ki air conditioned office mein baithe rehte hain niche. And so nobody went up because they had to climb through a ladder. Okay? So क्या हुआ? The young guy had it done in reverse. So what was supposed to be at the bottom? I said, how can still that happen? Why didn't the guy read it right? ठीक है, junior था. What happened? What happened is he showed me a drawing. So in our drawing was a little detail in a corner here. That was the roofing. Okay, all the roofing, correct detail. So I said, yeah, it's all here, but why is it so small? So we went back to the draftsman, on the architect both. He said, why was this? कैमरा साहब वो सारी शीटें भर गई थी, तो मैंने सोचा यहाँ ये शीट पे छोटी जगह थी तो मैंने लिख दी. वो छोटा, the small writing caused the, and also the layering was written in such a way that the top portion, when you write on a drawing, right on top, uske upar ye. He had also written upside down, but the arrows were pointing right. So one would say that it actually generated from your own office. That led to the entire, now here was 1 month left to open. And in Islamabad there's a season for rain. So how do you fix it? Luckily the contractor said, I'm responsible, so it took, in that time it took 2.5 million rupees and he paid for it and fixed it. All you had to do was reverse the detail. So it was all a collective fault, and it may happen to all of us, any of us. Okay? If you do a little house here and there or something, bardasht ho jata. Whenever you get now, organizations now are very, very conscious of responsibility now. You have to start taking responsibility. Okay? After the kings, a period aaya tha where I remember when I think we were writing the IVS curriculum, we had some advisors from outside, and the advisors said, how do you define the architect? Said the architect in the Beaux-Arts school in Paris was, the only requirement was the head of the department should be of nobility. Nobility. Because only noble people could get involved in the culture and the arts. They said that after some years it changed to the head of the department of architecture must be a man of nobility and have given 2 lectures in 2 years. Okay, then he went. So this is how the progression has happened over time, that we have now come in this so-called very democratic age of thing, and to the point where in places like Pakistan is something that we will talk again as we go along in this, is the issue of, everyone knows you sign a form with the building control authority. that you will supervise the job, okay? And the engineer will supervise the job. So there is this big question on what is supervision, okay? Have you noticed that nowhere in this entire scenario is a contractor involved? Nowhere. It's only you and the engineer. And I really, after the lecture, I would really like IAP with all these laws being revised, is to go and see what is supervision. The word, we were working with the Americans in the 80s, and there again we had this problem. So this big gentleman partner from Islam, he said, you know what a supervisor is? A supervisor is one that watches a carpenter, make sure he hits the nail on the head right. He's supervising the worker. Are you supervising the worker? Are you telling him how to do this? He said, you are observing the construction. Your role is construction observation. That is something that is a subject that we really need to move with IAP, with the new regulations that I see you guys are going into. You have to change it. Do you know this is the only country where the contractor does not sign anywhere? He only signs with the owner. What responsibility does the contractor have to the building control authority? Can anyone here answer that? None. If something falls down, building falls down, it's architect. If a guy falls down, it's still the architect. Which means they have, you go to Dubai, very close. After the contractor is hired, he actually has to submit all his shop drawings to the city before he can construct. We have nothing of the sort. So this is the thread, the Damocles sword that you are hanging on. आप ये याद रखें कि आपकी ये issue आ रही है, ठीक है? So we all have our stories, So as I say in Murphy's law, something can go wrong, it will, and with almost every one of you it will. Whether you like it or not, it can be a house, it can be a bigger thing. The scale will be different. When it gets to a bigger scale, the lawyers will come in. Fat cat lawyers, they make money. They make money out of your mistakes. So one of the bigger things that we need to talk about is what are errors and omissions. Errors and omissions are something that are part of the design process. Because you made an error in specifying something, because you missed out a detail, then you had an implication. That is error and omission. Okay? And these are very, very important things, the error and omission. Let me see. Okay. So let me just tell you, like I said earlier, a few pictures. I just want to walk you through a picture before I get to the boring part of little writing, because eventually you get out of scope of work and this quite fast, and you get into liability. Okay, this is, of course, how many people know what this is? This is the Margala, right? Now you had a building fall, you had whatever. Now, what happened in this? There were so many buildings of the similar type, but only one building fell down. Okay? So, like I said, every picture has a story. Why did this building fall down? For years, they had been complaining that there was a plumbing leak that's happening and going down into the parking lot, into the foundations. For 10 years. and at some point in time when the earthquake came, the earth had already softened enough and this building fell down. So every picture has a story. Okay? You saw this recently. Alright? 6 people died. The architect was told to lock him up. He went and said, look, मेरा क्या है ये तो वर्कर का हुआ है. तो आप देखें कहीं कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का कुछ नहीं आया, कहीं उसका नहीं आया. The architect and the engineer were told, आपने साइन किया इसको. The building control authority went straight to the architect and said, ये तो आपका काम था supervise करना. So this whole perception of supervision is something that we need to revisit in our bylaws and convince the building control authorities that the architects do observation. We observe. Our responsibility is to observe and report. Now that's very important. If you don't report, then you're liable. You saw something and you didn't say it. That is something. So you look at this story. Okay? Similarly, things happen. Full ready-made building. This is the famous China building. Perfect, ready to be occupied. They were just excavating next door, and that there's a river, that canal that runs next to it. उसका पानी नीचे से आया, वो soft हुआ. Ready-made building, ready to be occupied, just simply went over. What they actually said was कि the building was spaced far enough कि वो गिरी और इसके पहले रुक गई. Varna, यहाँ से line से they were series of buildings. So you would have had a domino effect. You would have a real domino effect, probably be the biggest disaster of all time. So, what happens? Engineering fails, Even I remember some years ago, Burj Khalifa. People don't know about it. We were reading an engineering magazine where it said that Burj Khalifa was being built when the slabs hung down. So they said, oh, ये तो हो नहीं सकता. How can the slab hang down? So the architect said, well, you see, such height, such slabs had never been built before. This is the first time we're building it. So कुछ ना कुछ तो हो सकता है. They did fix it with carbon fiber, whatever, and they fixed it. But when you build something the first time, you just don't know. So we're not perfect that way. Okay? So whatever you do, dream, create can come up and happen. Tragedies will happen. Tragedies will happen. It will happen to almost anybody. It doesn't have to matter on size, it doesn't have to matter on whatever. Okay? Now here, what happened here? Developed nation, okay, in the US. The crane fell down and damaged everything. Okay, you still lock up the architect. Okay? So what did he have to do with it? But the thing goes. But at least they are sensible enough to understand what happened. I remember one of our buildings in the 80s, we did a charity work. Charity. Okay? करके दे दिया. So this group of people said, अभी पैसे वैसे नहीं है, जब पैसे आएंगे, community जब पैसे जमा करेगी तो बनाएंगे. हम बोल गए दे दिया उनका. One day I opened dawn का अखबार, मैं पता लगा कि जी ये बिल्डिंग बन रही थी, गिर गई. यार ये क्या हो गया ये? उन्होंने कहा जी मार्शल लॉ का ज़माना था, तो उन्होंने कहा ये जो ड्राइंग के ऊपर पूरा पैनल है ना, जितने लोग लिखे हैं इनको सब लॉ बंद कर दो. पहले बंद कर दो, फिर बाद में बात करें. Now we didn't even know about it. We didn't even know they had started it. It was an auditorium and it was like 25 feet high. And they got a community contractor किसने वो धाड़ की बल्लियां ली और उसने ऐसे धागे से बांधा एंड ही took a 50-foot span roof का जब कंक्रीट का वेट आया तो नीचे लोग ठोक रहे थे, ये कर रहे थे, सब मर गए. ठीक है. I mean it shocked us. हमें पता भी नहीं है. I mean, man, already didn't know about it. उनके पैसे आए होंगे, उन्होंने शुरू करा दिया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया, उन्होंने कहा कि जो लिखा है वो ले आओ, पकड़ के. So this happens. This can happen to anybody. It wasn't a big project, but people died. When you have a human death, you get into problems. And all of our work involves human and death, structurally speaking. Sometimes the building doesn't have to fall, the crane can fall too. Okay? I don't know if this picture is real or not, but I just look at it and find this is what we call errors and omissions. This is our part of the thing. But I'm not convinced that this is the real picture. इतना करीब आके नहीं पता लगता किसी को. If they can go through the English channel from two sides so many miles apart and come and meet at exactly the same point, it's incredible. Man is engineering feats are incredible also. But you can know this can happen. It can happen. Here again I would say error and omission. This is not a contractor's fault. It's ours. Okay? It's our fault. Don't you think so? So how do you and it got built. Even if you pakad liya, during construction pakada kuch, it got built. So, trouble can come anytime. Shit can happen. Okay, it can happen. What a lovely building, right? Does anyone know the story of this building? This is a hotel in Las Vegas. Architect thought what a beautiful curve I had done. Sexy curve. What this sexy curve did, it concentrated the sun's rays and concentrated them, if you can, like all on the swimming pool area. People burnt. They actually burnt. Nobody used it. So where do you go? Is it a contractor? Is it an architect? Is whatever? Even an architect, could he have thought that wo curvature would make the light? This happens. So we must now be ready for all these things. Okay? So it's actually a thought. And then of course scale. Sometimes we just blow the scale. You remember the NASA rocket that was supposed to come down? Okay? It came down faster and crashed because it was done in Europe. The design was done in Europe for the landing gear on it. The US में feet में कर रहे थे, वहाँ वो millimeters में कर रहे थे, तो उनकी जो distance थी उसमें कहा था कि इतने distance में it will slow down and land. Well, the land came earlier. It crashed there, up there. So scale is something that we must always look at. These are our own errors and omissions. Very important. So contractors do this also. Everybody knows about this one. We cloud in drawings. If the contractor makes the cloud. So you have a stupid contractor. What do you do? When you cloud drawings, please be careful. Okay, because he sometimes makes a crowd. Funny. Again, look at that. The drawing is, you made the drawing. The architect made the drawing. The contractor made the construction. So the distance or the thinking between the drawing and reality, you have to have somebody saying, hey, something is wrong here. So the ability to catch and convert from a drawing to reality takes brains. And it's very important. Look, it's built. बनाते वक्त भी नहीं सोचा किसी ने. I mean, even a laborer can tell you that sometimes. But हो जाता है, you know. ये भी हो जाता है. ये भी हो जाता है. We always show. Remember in drawings? Some people show drawings full 90 degrees, okay? Some people only show 45. Some architects drawings show only 45. So you don't know if it misses or not. If it isn't, we'll cut the door and we'll go through. Okay? So it's not, I don't know if this is a whatever, but it gives a message. It gives a message. And all of us architects say, it could never happen to me. Trust me, it will. Trust me. Trust me, it will. Okay? So here you are. My final picture. It says, so engineering fails. You have a wall and water is coming out of an electrical outlet. Okay? So should I call a plumber or should I call an electrician? Huh? सोचो. अभी बन रही है तो maybe they fired her, but through the electrical, it was a working building, I would have said so. Or electrician. Or you hear from a lawyer, buddy. Okay? You want to hear from the lawyer. So these are the kinds of things that architects, with their own errors, with a combination of errors, because the construction industry is not an easy industry. The design, between design and construction. In Pakistan particularly, we all get educated and do all these fancy drawings. The guy building it can't even read the drawing. And you expect him to check. So you will get stuck and you'll wonder, why me? And that why me is going to get more and more and more serious with each passing day. Don't think you can get out of it. So let's look at one root cause behind it. One. And I don't want to offend any of all the professors and faculty people that I see here, but when you analyze something, you look at it from the root of where the problem could have arisen. Okay? So we think that education is neither current nor critical. It continues to be based on the model of the architect as an elite professional, independent of and superior to the building industry, always aspiring to be a genius. Okay, everybody here wants to be a Ejaz Ahed. Everybody here. Okay? So, and we train our people, we want them to be that you are the leader, you're a leader. You're not a leader anymore. Buildings are very complex now. You are just one of the members of the team. In the world now, architects most of the time don't lead anymore. Sometimes it's the contractor that leads. Sometimes the project manager leads the project. So it's very important that you get off your pedestal, okay, become a member of the team and become subservient to the industry. Now the industry is now determining a lot of things. Okay? The other very important thing is that architectural practices, no matter how many dreams you may have, okay, are businesses. It's still at the end of the day, it's a business. And a business needs to be managed efficiently. It has to have money flowing in. How many of the young architects say, clients never pay. They never pay. एंड वाला पे नहीं करते, बीच वाला पे नहीं करते, थोड़ा थोड़ा दे देते, बोलते हैं हाँ चेक्स इन द मेल, यू नो, वो वाली ठीक होती है. तो how do you plan, how do you forecast profits and growth in this competitive world? Architectural education teaches you nothing about managing business or getting new commissions. Now this is very important that we start doing this in education. हम सिर्फ प्रीमा डॉना बनाने की कोशिश में रहते हैं. तो but architecture is a business, and so this is something that educationists should think about. I've got a series of things. So the crucial areas of training that we tend now in our present curriculums is the training in construction and design. Okay? Final year presentations tend to be more trendy, social events intended to fit the present fashion trend. Okay? This is how I look at it. There is beautiful graphics, laboriously drawn, and are visually compelling, with immediate impact, momentary thrills, but there's no depth in them. Okay? You may not like it, but that's what it is. So, what I think is that today, many of our teachers accept, any fantastic scenario idea as a spark of design, and imagination, without assessing the relevance of such narratives to originality and reality. In fact, students keep from what I've read, students actually sometimes complain, हमारे टीचर बोलते हैं हाँ ये भी ठीक है, ये भी ठीक है, ये भी ठीक है, ये भी ठीक है, करते जाओ, है ना? So I'm saying that the architecture school resembles a kindergarten of uninhibited and unshackled free expression, and trendiness is promoted and appreciated. Trendiness. Thus going away from the fundamentals of disciplines of architecture into the realm of bad art, which will not serve the real world. And that's not to say, there's always an argument since I came back, teachers say, oh, all you practicing architect, all you want is labor, schools to produce labor for you so you can make them work like dogs and get your work done out without thinking. But this is also not going to help. Okay? You need architecture, you need to master the principle. People mistake a simple plan for a very simplistic one and fail to understand the richness of restraint. Remember me, Swander, less is more. Okay, stuff like that. It's sometimes it's very difficult to invent a simple thing. It happens in the industry. I remember when I came here, I did this sui gas company building was my first project in '74, and it was very interesting. I said, why are you building this thing? He said, well, we were making this, and it was 180 components to make 1 meter, 1 gas meter. He said this French company came and they said, in 80 components we will make you the same thing. He said, do you realize what that means in the industrial process? Reducing that many number of inventory and parts. So all of these are very interrelated things. Okay? So unresolved complexity, as we see in all our design, is taken as invention, which degenerates into a play of geometry or, squiggles, whichever you call it, which may be very beautiful graphic, but it would not be architecture. I remember when I was going through my course at IIT, there was a big furor about, Miss Vandaro schools make boxes. They don't know how to make anything else, only make boxes. So this Japanese professor of mine would stand up and he said, just learn to make the box right. You have a lifetime to be creative. This is your schooling. Just learn to build this right. You can do all your cards and present, you have a lifetime to be creative. So we are forgetting how to put things. And what is very important is that the construction industry in the developed world and in our world is very different. Today in Europe and mostly in America now, the contractor has more architects than the architect themselves. And they say, Mr. Architect, you dream. We'll build it for you. So hence you see all the big glossy fancy pictures that you see, Jean Nouvel making all these kinds of things. Jean Nouvel is the scale. The contractor does all this dealing for you. Here, tell me who does it. You are the thinker, the architect, the fabricator, the constructor, and you're responsible to. In this country, it's so important. We worked with an American contractor in Peshawar, I remember, and the guy simply says, yeah, it's fine. Why are you bothering? It's fine. It meets code. Yes, I'm telling you it meets code. Pakistan, everything is said, yes, we conform to something. It's good enough. He said it's not good enough. The guy said, no, it's good enough. You put it in. Get your money and get the hell out. Okay? But this is something that we have to now change. Okay? Alright. So, although social dynamics are not the only discipline, structure, services and construction are all crucial too as a contextual person. You know why? Look at all the failures that architects have. Think about it. Buildings leaking, waterproofing detail was wrong. Okay? So it was materials. So it was materials that went wrong. It was specification that went wrong. Alright? Why? Because you didn't know. You didn't know that was the right thing to use. Or you were not experienced enough. Or you got in a supplier and said, yaar bata de isme kya karna hai, hum wo likh dete hain. And when you fail, it always has to do with materials. Any design failure mein koi nahi puchta. Whether you walk straight or whether you walk like this, so kehte hain, oh, very nice, very architectural to walk like this. But that you can pass. It's like saying 99% of all buildings are built in Pakistan. There's a fire stair. When you actually get to the fire stair, there's some furniture lying against it, and you can never get inside it. Okay, because you don't care about fire, whatever. So these are the reasons that we need to be careful about. That is, so good architects always tend to think in construction and detail right from the earliest sketches. Please understand, we are now used to glossy magazines and things without realizing what goes behind the scene to produce that. Whether it was the architect's office that did it, or whether it was that. Somebody asked me a question yesterday. He says, how did these Zaha Hadid buildings, how did they stand? How did they stand? All these big curves and whatever. He said, this is beyond imagination. because there are no drawings. The drawings go directly to factory. There is no intermediate set of drawing of a contractor that reads the drawing. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I remember Shahid Abdullah once said that he was in Dubai and they said, oh, you know, Ejaz Ahed charges the contractor 6% to do his drawing directly for the CAD, in addition to the owner's thing. He said, because you don't understand my thing, I will give it to you and I'll charge you the money. Now these are high-end stuff, and look at us. We are at a point where a contractor is not even responsible anymore. So we actually need to improve ourselves. Otherwise we will be stomped and taken and become useless in terms of. So knowledge and due respect for structure services is not just technical and economic, but it's essential to aesthetic satisfaction and coherence. Mere details are not enough. You know, you looked at the address hotel that burnt in Dubai. What happened? Simple. The gasket, EPDM gasket that you have for curtain wall, it started to burn. And I had somebody from Dubai the other day and he told me why. He said, uske piche they had all these lighting wiring for making the building, you know, very glamorous at night. So when this started to burn, that electrical fire took the fire all the way to the top of the building. Fire is another subject. I mean, you can go endlessly on that. I'm just trying to get to the macro level that we realize that what we do, we must be at. And it must start from education, it must start through our practice, it must show through our practice. Which way? It's like saying, I say to people in my office, I said to all my consultants, to all your fighting in the room here, outside the field people must not think, they must only build. They are not there to think, you should do the thinking. Therefore coordination is one of the biggest things that has happened. I can tell you hundreds of stories of coordination. Everybody can. A lot of these gentlemen right up here can. The other is engineers here we tend to say, oh, useless engineers, they don't do anything, this, that. You know, we have to, and I tell you, I've worked with Dr. Fazl Rahman Khan, and he was the man who actually said, okay, architects and engineers need to work together to do this, okay, as equals, rather than just saying, Mr. Engineer, look, I've drawn this curve, you make it stand, I don't give a shit. You make it stand, whatever it is. Which is what they did with the Sydney Opera House, by the way. Sydney Opera House is a very, very good example. उसकी history अगर आप पढ़े वहाँ लिखी भी है. When you go to Sydney Opera House, there was this architect who won a competition on a sketch, and the history says the competition जीता and the city hall said अभी तो timeline नहीं है, ये picture अच्छी लगती है, इसको बना लो. So they gave it to a very big company called OVA Group. OVA Group are the biggest engineering company for very innovative engineering design. And OVA Group still couldn't do it, so they called Fazl Rahman Khan. तो उन्होंने कहा हमने वो बना तो दिया पूरे सिडनी ओपेरा हाउस के petals, but they're all fake. There's no real in it. We just built the structure to make it look like it. That's what was supposed to be done, so we made it. So one has to look at what poor training does to architects. It degrades, I think, the whole profession. So we need to stop taking all the teaching and academic people here to limit the applause to pluralism and using theory as a refuge for making something difficult to understand. And also, unfortunately, Ramesh, future president of IAP, unfortunately, professional bodies are not really interested in pursuing such a review, as they wish to present a front of confidence, and besides business matters are interested in celebrating achieved fame rather than questioning its basis. This is to me a very important, okay? So that's just one of the root things on it. How are we doing? Half an hour. Yeah. All right. So here you are. When you get into agreements, you say, what is the owner's rights and obligations? Very few, very little. Okay. They will give you all his program, his data, and whatever required for you to build his program on it. Okay. And we say, okay, it shall not interfere with the professional work of the architect. Although he does, right? You all guys are Cohen's always right. Who shall enjoy reasonable freedom in providing services. Okay? But the second para is something, because a lot of our contracts have gone through big lawyers. And when we put up an argument into saying, look, do you know your profession or we know the profession? So the lawyers came back and said, okay, fine, we give you your authority, but we want you to listen to us. So they added that. Shall consider all instructions, requirements for technical reasons, except where, for technical reasons, the architect is of the view that if you do this, the safety of the project will be damaged. There you draw a line. So this was done and added by one of the biggest legal companies over here for us, and we accepted it. We accepted it. Why not? Okay? So these are primarily what the owner does. Otherwise, routine stuff like payments, this and that, I'm not getting into that kind of an issue. But then it gets to you. You're the architect. Okay? But everyone says reasonable care and skill. Okay? Perform is consistent with the professional skill and care ordinarily brought back architects practicing in the same or similar locality under the same or similar circumstances. Okay? If you fail to provide a reasonable skill, care may be held liable for professional negligence. So this is what you're entering. You're entering into the world of professional negligence. Okay? So let me just walk you through a short while with just basic services, and then we'll get to liability. Okay? So usually customary, what does an architect do? You know, you do your structure, mechanical, electrical, you hire all these consultants and you do it. Or if you have your own company, you do that. Yet the architect will manage his own services. You know, there are things that you must learn how to do. When I came here, they never trained me to say, okay, what's the feasibility on this? I said, what feasibility? You hire a financial consultant to do that. And clients were asking, so what's the feasibility of this? आप एक बिल्डिंग एक ऑफिस बिल्डिंग के प्रोग्राम ले जाते हैं, उनको कहते हैं कि भाई ये है, तो कहना कि when is my return, how long will be my return, how long will be whatever. So we went and sat down with financial and said, teach us how to do, you know, depreciation, how to do this, that, when your money will return. Because today's businessman says, when do I get my money back? When do I start making profit? Unfortunately, that is what it is. Okay, so you need to know. You need to make a scheduling. Okay, schedule of services. We don't even, you know, we ask a contractor give a services thing out, schedule out or whatever. How many do we give? Very few. Why did it? We don't know how to make it. Actually, education should also teach you these kinds of things. Okay? Now, during the schematic design phase, you basically, how you communicate with the owner is very, very important. How you sell your thing, procurement, delivery method, each in terms of the other. You also make recommendations. These are all standard services. Okay? You will also talk about materials and building systems and equipment consistent with the owner's budget. You have to learn to respect the owner's budget, time, whatever it is, no matter what fancy architect you are. So basically, and then in your other next phases, you design development, you go for approval, documentation in a more detailed manner, and updated estimate cost of the work. Now this is also a thing. Everybody asks for cost of work. We have a very poor system of costing. Okay, maybe big organizations like us have a big costing department and QSs and whatever. In the US and in Europe, the QS is on the job on day one. On day one with the architect. Here, after you've done all your thing, you've done your BOQ, you've done everything, you give him a document and say, okay, cost this for me. So we are not at par with world. You need to see that. Okay? So you have construction documents, whatever. You have to help out during negotiation. These are routine stuff. Now, during construction, it's very important that you're not party to the construction contract. The construction contract is between owner and contractor. Okay? You may be given a portion where to say, this guy will oversee my work. That's an authority given to you. The contract is not. They say if you look at contracts that the engineer, the word engineer will do this. But basically, that's something the owner is giving you as an authority. You can provide administration of the construction too, if the work meets the architect's design intent. Now remember, we must always stress to a client, there will be sharp lawyers who will get you anyway, but we must always say that our purpose is to check the design intent, the intent of the design. Okay? And then of course you are the point of communication between the contractor and the owner in matters regarding the contract, including changes, acceptance of work, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, many times you're given the administration of the contract. Once you're given administration of the contract, again you talk about how responsible do you become. Do you take on the contractor responsibility? Okay? You're supposed to visit sites, or you're supposed to even appoint people on site and whatever to do that. So now, I always say one thing. Never tell a contractor how to do something. You can tell him how do you want to do it. If you tell him how to do something, then if it goes wrong, you are responsible. Then you're liable. You're liable. You can tell him. The guy will say, well, I used what you told me to use. I used it the way you wanted me to use it. In 74, I remember doing steel mill, my very first case. I was only 25 years old then. And suddenly, Donald Rayton at that time, MLC, had the biggest legal department, okay, of all the contractors. And what did they say? They said, oh, very simple. They said, making blocks. our specifications are 1200 psi block. Okay? So the guy says, only getting 600 psi. So we said, no, we want 1200. He said, but you're saying you want a 136 mix. Okay? You know, everyone's familiar with this 136, 124 kind of shit, you know. Nobody in the world has forgotten that now. They've forgotten it 50 years ago, we still do it. You know what they said? They said, okay, you send us your people, we will all stand together, and in all of us, we will make the block in front of you. Tell us exactly how to do it. Okay? 136 mix, blah, blah, blah. Once they tested, it came out to 600. So the guy says, well, if you want it 1200, the mix has to be made richer and you will pay for it. You will pay for it. Now the owner doesn't give a shit, you know, that's your problem, buddy. You know 1200, your contractor quoted for 1200, now he's not giving it to you because you told him the design mix is there. Very, very early in the game we changed our specification to say I need, say, 2000 psi. I did not specify the mix. Then what happened? We found out that all the labs here are crooked. True. Not a joke. True. Now let's counter that also. So we said 2000 psi with a minimum mix of 136. Very localized to the country. And similar for different mixes or whatever. So we are still going through that. Even today, you talk to structural engineers, you talk to everybody, you're still talking of mix. Nobody talks of mix anymore. You talk on design strength. So the ethics works down the line. You know, the labs have to be right, they have to be honest, we have to be honest, the contractor has to be honest, and whatever. So, you know, somehow we're a bunch of crooks here, whatever. Okay. Yay! This is one of the most important clauses that a majority of architects don't do. Okay? Shall not be responsible for the contractor's operational methods, techniques, sequence of procedure, nor for the safety precautions in connection with the work, nor for any failure of the contractor. Now, safety precaution. The guy fell down the ladder, the guy fell down the thing, lock up the artery. If you had that written, and let me tell you, the people that were involved on that project did not have this. They said, shit, yeah, we should have had this clause in the contract. We should have had this clause in the contract. They didn't. It's a very major clause. Nor for the safety. You cannot tell a contractor, आप इधर से शुरू करें या इधर से शुरू करें. You can't. If you tell him, we say, you did my job, I wanted to start from this end, you told me to start from this end, therefore I can't perform. My end result will not happen, I cannot give you in the required time, blah, 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 and all that. So you cannot interfere. It's like saying, somebody said, one of our projects, there are a lot of piles there. So this guy said, so इतना बड़ा एरिया है तो bulldozers लाके they remove the earth. They didn't. They got 300 donkeys, real donkeys, and these donkeys would come down, pick up the earth and go back up, pick up the earth, and they were so beautifully trained कि वो नीचे जाते थे, लेके ऊपर आते थे, without any guidance. Why was that? And why did we allow it? Because the bulldozer couldn't get between the piles. People keep hitting the piles. So there was so little space in there that only the animals could go in there. So it happens. So you learn this over time. All I'm saying is, so this is one of the most important things that you must have in your agreement. Okay? Now the contractor is failing to perform. Contractor नहीं कर रहा टाइम पे, तो कहेगा आप आर्किटेक्ट हैं, आप जाने वो जाने, आप दोनों ही तो हैं, आप डिजाइनर हैं, वो आर्किटेक्ट है, लेकिन आप लोग परफॉर्म नहीं कर रहे. The contractor has his own contract. He has his own performance bond वो तो मैं बात भी नहीं करूंगा अभी इसकी. And he's supposed to perform according to that. So how come you are involved? He has signed a contract to do something. How are you responsible for his failure? This is what you have to fight. Very important for you to fight this in all your contract. Okay? Now I talked about reporting earlier. Informed of the progress is not responsible again, but remember, you report. Today's world, verbal means nothing. Verbal means nothing. Is that I told you so, I told the guy who was at site, means nothing anymore. And luckily for you guys, email is there, don't have to write a paper anymore. You write down everything. I cannot emphasize how much the importance of writing down every observation is in a project now. Okay? This is just standard duties on it. Now the other is also a very important thing. Contract says, this is not done here, this is not done there, or whatever. You must write in this. He's the sole interpreter of the requirements of the contract document. If you don't take that authority, somebody else will. Okay? You will say what is right on. Declare it on day one. You have to learn to establish your power. Like one of my partners at SOM used to say, we would go to a project site first time and reject the power. Right or wrong, we'd reject it. He says, why? He says, to establish power. You establish that you will do what I tell you. It happens. There's a lot of power games. On any site, remember that, a contractor will be testing you for the first 3 months to see how pliable this architect is. इसको मैं कितना दबा सकता हूँ, कितना वो कर सकता हूँ, टेस्ट करता रहता है. And you have to be very careful about that. Okay? But of course, जब आप interpret करने के बाद आप claim करें. A client once told me, ये क्या है, ये तो decision आपने contractor के favor में दे दिया. तो मैंने कहा, I'm very sorry, but during a contract, I have to be fair. You may have hired me. That doesn't mean I'm going to only give a decision in your favor. I have to be fair. And I have actually fought for this. And clients had to agree. There. But you should not show partiality. Take it? Usual stuff, payments, whatever. You have, now the thing is during is, what are your rights? What are your rights? What are the authorities? If what happens if the contractor not paying his subcontractors, what happens? What do you do in these cases? वो कहना कि मैं तो कर दूंगा काम, मुझे पैसे देगा तो मैं करूंगा, वो नहीं करूंगा, और आपका प्रोजेक्ट खराब हो रहा है. Okay? So you must have authority to say, look man, I'm going to take that money from you, I'm going to pay this guy directly, I have to get my job done. You need to get your job done. You need to be the leader. If sometimes you need a lot of extra testing to happen, I can, is that a sign? Oh, okay. So you need this special testing, I remember in Chicago when they were building the Chicago Civic Center, steel building. So how things happen, it's so amazing how things happen. Look, they were hoisting these girders from the ground by a crane. So एक बंदा नीचे वॉकी टॉकी लेके खड़ा हुआ है, तो वो क्रेन जाता है तो उसके ऊपर वाले को बोलता है कि हाँ इधर लाओ इधर लाओ इधर लाओ, तो वो one of the girders got caught in the earlier floors, फंस गया वो. अब ये बोल रहा है stop, उसको सुन ही नहीं आया. So it started ripping off all the girders along the way. So it wasn't the ripping off that was important. What was scary was it wasn't supposed to get ripped off by just one girder pulling them. That scared everybody. That means the welding was not done right. That means the whole building depended on the welding. Project was stopped. Every weld was x-rayed and re-welded. So things happen. There are a billion things that happen. Boston, John Hancock Center, all the glasses keep falling off. And sometimes the strangest things happen. It was very famous, Boston John Hancock building, which was the biggest plywood building, like 50-story building with plywood on it. They took pictures of it and said, no glass. They had to take every piece of glass out. They sued I&Pay. He paid for it. And just so you know, every architect has been sued. Frank Gehry has been sued. Calatrava has been sued. Every architect has been sued. आप तो अभी तक बहुत लकी है, मगर आपके पास भी आ रही है, इससे पहले ही बता दे रहा हूँ, for future generations. Okay. Other thing also is shop drawing. The concept of shop drawings doesn't exist here, but it's very, very important. It shows you how to build, and also what happens. Shop drawing, if you review it, does it mean you become responsible for it? Lawyers think you could be. Okay, so be careful when you reviewing shop drawings. If one of the screw types fails, the whole thing comes down. I say, आपने approve किया ये, वही लगाया मैंने. What do? So you become a party to it. So all you will do is pay the insurance companies a lot of money for your liability insurance. Okay. So I'll just review this. The supervised responsibility approval of plans, contractor is not required, is something that I really would like you guys to note on it. Okay. Then you will do closeouts. So you may have a limitation on authority. There's an actual authority, there's an implied authority, and there's an apparent authority. An actual authority, implied authority means allows the exercise authority incidental to his actual authority. यार यही करते सभी आर्किटेक्ट यही तो करते हैं. Apparent authority is when the owner leads others to believe that the architect has more authority than he really has. Okay, so you get this kind of a thing, and rejecting is pretty common. Okay. Now, with all this responsibility that you're taking on, come liabilities. Okay? Architects should be very careful when preparing contracts. Now, that's another subject that you should have. Younger architects don't get involved in it because it really doesn't. Because these things happen when you hurt. And people think अभी तो मैं वो हूँ ये हूँ some company में काम करूँगा ये. So when you're doing your own business, all defining contracts, preparing contract becomes very, very. Courts will interpret contracts in many different ways. And remember that. The same thing. Different courts, different people, different lawyers, they interpret it in a different way. Negligence. Again, arise out of architects' acts of failure to act. Happens. Very, very common. Very, very common. Okay. Now the good news on liability is, when are you not liable? So you all be happy to know, when are you not liable? When the building is used for other purposes than it was designed to. ठीक है, आपने घर बनाया, उसमें फैक्ट्री मशीन्स लग गई और वो गिर गई, तो आप रिस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं हैं. ठीक है, this is the good news. Any changes, modifications are carried out without your consent, not responsible. Any alteration by another architect, okay, without your knowledge, you're safe. Okay? Now, another thing, lack of periodical maintenance. Now what happens again is that the client has not maintained any of your building the way he should. He let plumbing pipes leak over for years and years, and the building settled, and whatever happened, you're not responsible. Okay? Illegal on changes carried out by the owner. This is very, very common here. Very, very common here. And you must always, advise them. So, with a good lawyer, you may be responsible to owner and third parties for almost everything else other than this, what you just saw. So you're in trouble. So welcome to the cruel world of liability, which they never trained you to deal with. Okay? See the faculty and brows here saying, what the hell is this? Yeah? Contractors supervise construction and architects observe the work to determine if it is in accordance with the contract document. That is going to be your argument at all times. Okay? I'm not hitting the nail for you. Alright? It's very important to make this distinction. To be important for the architect's role to be clearly and correctly defined in the contract. The architect is not liable for workers' injuries after the worker falls from a ladder, since the contract documents uniformly and clearly limited architect's responsibility. So please write this down in your contract. I know 3 architects who didn't write this down and were held responsible. Okay? Alright. Most owners will accept the design intent, but if failures occur, they'll get you. They will not leave you anymore due to errors and omissions. And we looked at a lot of errors and omissions that we looked at earlier. And most damages are due to failure of architect-specified materials and processes of construction. Okay? Which can be traced either to the architect's own knowledge or the people on field and their quality of education, which is lacking in today's architectural education, which tends to concentrate on design and not construction. Failures usually come out during construction. And of course, many damages are due to contractor's own negligence or incompetence. But right now he is protected. You have to look after his versions also. So if you are supervising, you can be ready for legal consequences. Okay. So what are your defenses? Your defenses are you buy liability insurance. It's available here. The question is, it's very expensive. Okay, and wherever we have been asked for insurance, we ask the client to pay for it. Okay, and what is the extent? You know, if you look at the PEC Act, how long are you responsible? It's very, very clearly, very easily said, oh, you're only responsible for 1 year, and that's it. You know, we had a very interesting thing. The other day, a client said, oh, ये रोड बनी थी 4 साल में पहले, कॉन्ट्रैक्टर कहना ये रोड ठीक करे, उनका साहब उसका तो पीरियड 1 साल में खत्म हो गया। तो कहने लगे उसने बनाई क्यों खराब थी जो 4 साल में खराब हो गई? Hard to answer that. Is your contractor? You're the architect. Very difficult questions to answer. So make sure that you tell them right in the beginning what it is. So reporting of non-compliance is very, very important. Please teach people to write the non-compliance. So what can lead to liability claims? Inadequate supervision of inexperienced employees. That means people on site can't see. Design errors are caused mainly by inexperienced architects who did not receive enough supervision and direction during the performance of the work. Inadequate project coordination, a very, very big factor in failures. Poor communication. What happens? You do your architecture drawing, send it to the all the trades. They just do their thing and come back. No. You must sit and bring everybody together as an architect. Very important. Okay? Inadequate design coordination. I have requested to make a lot of changes with unreasonable time frame. बस आप कर दीजिए मुझे तो चाहिए ये वो. Very common. Very common. And that tends to make downstream errors also. Okay? Which somehow, you know, many times you say, oh yeah, वो भेज दो यार वो मांग रहे हैं जल्दी just send everything out. What we realize is कि उसमें 9 10 out of 10 हो जाता होगा, but one time that they hit you, you go wrong, they hold you for it. Inadequately worded contracts. Using non-standard contracts. Use standard contracts. PEC has good contracts. They've taken it from FIAP and whatever. Consulting engineers, consulting architect contracts are not that very different at all. Not that different at all. We pretend we are the leaders, but okay. So you maintain insurance, additional insurance, you want to reimburse the architect. Yeah. In fact, if you find out because of a contractor's thing, in the developed world, they actually make the contractor pay for the architect's time also. हमारे पास हम हर चीज अपने ऊपर ले लेते हैं. Okay? Sorry. Okay. So remember, architects provide services, not products. Very, very important. So even in exercising reasonable judgment, architect can be wrong. We all, because the industry tells you something, everybody, the guy and the salesman wants to sell his stuff, so he tells you. So unfortunately, buildings cannot be pre-tested and guaranteed that they will be planned. They will work as planned. It's fact of life. Okay? So build your dream, but beware of liability. Okay? Final word of warning. And I think it's important now to, if there are any questions, that we can go on that. This. How many are asleep? Let's see. Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah.
Very good presentation. It's very enlightened to know about.
You have a mic for him?
So, when we look at the B4 document of American Institute of Architects, which encompasses the responsibility in a larger spectrum. So over here we have seen that if architect doesn't take the liability, the scale of fees is very low. For instance, a lot of clients that where resident supervision is involved, you would have a better fee. So, and while FIDIC is more of an engineering side contract, so how do you compare that if an architects avoid the responsibilities, the scale of fee or the professional compensation is also very low. And the
Yeah, very good question.
and the other thing is that if the premium has to be paid by the employer or the client for professional indemnity insurance, then why over 4 or 5 decades of practice over here, it's not that popular or being advocated by the architectural practices? Because that's a financial part is going towards the client.
Yeah. Look, eventually at the end of the day, everything has to be paid by the client because that's part of the project cost. If you go to Korea, in Korea, all insurance is done by the owner. All. It is because they want the protection of the project. Because if I say,
Reduce our scope and liability,
Huh.
the fee is also getting down. In case of resident supervision, we have that
you
cushion.
see, resident supervision is something that you take on as an additional responsibility. Okay? When you take that on, it does not mean that you take on the contractor's responsibilities. This is the fine point that you need to remember. With resident supervision, the contractor has a very nice guy. Sir, जैसे इन्होंने किया मैंने किया, जैसे उन्होंने कहा मैंने किया, and you become liable. So you have to keep the contractor at bay all the time. अब आर्किटेक्ट क्यों कर रहे हैं क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं आपको मैं बताऊं इसलिए कि we have come over time to expect everything over here. ठीक है अब वो भी है ठीक है यार वो करेगा तो जॉब ले लेगा मुझसे. You know, yesterday I was watching this movie. Wife was watching a movie, and it said the actor said हमारी तरफ पैसे बढ़ा दें. कहने लगे पैसे बढ़ाएं. कहने लगे इतनी सक्सेसफुल सीरीज हो रही पैसे क्यों बढ़ाएं आपके हैं सक्सेसफुल हो रही है आपको पैसे मिल रहे हैं कहना हम रिप्लेस कर देंगे आपको. तो कहते हैं अच्छा ठीक है. A lot of people are dependent. That's why they say architecture should be done by the rich. So you don't have to depend on all these things. You know, people like Jeffrey Bauer, all these guys are bloody rich people. They don't give a shit about what happened or what anybody said. But you have to be rich. I also said this in an earlier lecture. We said how success happens. This is how it is. People listen to you carefully. When they can get you, they'll stump you. So, what is your thing? Merit. The other thing is very easy accusation. You corrupted. You corrupted and you paise maan rahe ho tumse. And you're finished. Your career is finished like this. Simple statements. So ye hai. You have to be very careful in how you deal with contractors. Resident supervision means you've taken on more responsibility, but it does not mean taking the contractor's responsibility. I can say, Mr. Contractor, your safety is not. You know, now clients have a very, very strong what they call the HSE department, health and safety environment. It's so tough. On some of our projects, you get an excavator that comes to site, They will not tell it enter the property. वो कहते हैं पहले इसका फिटनेस सर्टिफिकेट दिखाओ, ठीक है, उसके बाद वो कहते हैं ओके नाउ गिव मी अ ड्राइवर्स लाइसेंस दैट ही कैन ड्राइव दिस व्हीकल एंड इट मस्ट बी अ वैलिड वन. Only then will you let inside the gate. So it's happening. And why? Because of human safety. All because of the value of human life. Liability with the क्या है? Money, the client just has to spend more money, right? And he doesn't want to spend more money because of your mistakes. That's why he wants the coverage. Any guy?
मेरा कमेंट तो नहीं है, मेरा क्वेश्चन तो नहीं है, पता मैं कमेंट करूंगा उर्दू में. मेरा कहना ये है कि जो आपने जो जिक्र किया इंजीनियर्स का और कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स का, तो मेरे जो भाई जहाँ जिस बिल्डिंग में आप बैठे हुए हैं, ये बिल्डिंग भी मेरे भाई साहब ने बनवाई थी. MLC की जो आपने बात की थी, he was heading MLC, he was chairman of MLC.
I know him very well.
All the buildings in Pakistan, सारी बिल्डिंगें मेरे भाई साहब ने बनवाई थी. You name it, he done it.
जी.
Even this embassy, which was run by Richard Newtra,
जी.
ये भी मेरे भाई साहब ने बनवाई थी. और होटल इंटरकॉन्टिनेंटल जो है, ये पहला प्रोजेक्ट था जो मेरे भाई पढ़ के आए थे वहाँ से कॉर्नेल से, तो उन्होंने पहला प्रोजेक्ट ये किया था और मैं भी साथ थे उनके साथ. तो वहाँ सारे टेस्ट होते थे, ये सम टेस्ट, क्यूब टेस्ट, सारे सब हुआ करते थे. सब मैंने खुद किए. और शॉप ड्राइंग भी वहाँ बना करती थी, सारी चीज़ें होती थी. अब हम जिस कंपनी में काम करता था वहाँ सारी डिटेल ड्राइंग बना करती थी, सब चीज़ होती थी. लेकिन अब जो मैं देख रहा हूँ कि अब जो यंग लॉर्ड जो आ रही है, इवन जो अमेरिका से पढ़ के आ रहे हैं यहाँ पे आर्किटेक्ट्स, वो यहाँ कहीं नौकरी नहीं करते हैं. वो अमेरिका से आते के साथ ही यहाँ पर लाइसेंस लेके अपनी प्रैक्टिस शुरू करते हैं. यहाँ पर जब उनको कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है पाकिस्तान का, तो वो यहाँ क्या काम करेंगे. मुझे मालूम है, मैं बहुत से आर्किटेक्ट को जानता हूँ, मैं नाम ही लूँगा उनका. मैं बिल्डिंग कंट्रोल अथॉरिटी में था, वहाँ मेरे पास आया करते थे लोग.
नाम नहीं ले सकता है.
हाँ, नाम ही ले रहा है. दूसरी बात ये कि मुझे सब मुझे मालूम है. आई नो एवरीथिंग. इवन जो प्रोजेक्ट बड़े हुए हैं यहाँ पर, पेस्ट का डिजिटल प्रोजेक्ट इस्लामाबाद में, वो मेरे भाई साहब ने बनाया था. मैं वहाँ जा चुका हूँ. उसके अंदर वो ऐसी जगह है कि जहाँ पर कोई जा नहीं सकता. वहाँ भी मैं गया वहाँ पर, सब देखे मैंने बिल्डिंग. जितने भी होटल थे इंटरकॉन्टिनेंटल, 5 होटल इस पाकिस्तान में और पाकिस्तान में सब उन्होंने बनवाए थे. तो मेरा कहने का ये मतलब है, आपने जो शुरू में बताया, इस बिल्डिंगों की बात की थी, एक बिल्डिंग यहाँ ऐसी है बनी थी यहाँ पर फर्स्ट बिगड़ा में, जिसके ऊपर स्टेयरकेस नहीं बना था, विदाउट स्टेयरकेस. 3 मंजिला बिल्डिंग जो थी वो बगैर स्टेयरकेस के बन गई. जब वो पहुंचे देखने के कहा कहाँ ऊपर सर चढ़ के कहाँ जाएंगे, यहाँ पर वो बिल्डिंग मौजूद थी वहाँ पर. बाद में इसमें स्टेयरकेस ऐड किया गया. और बहुत सारी बिल्डिंग ऐसी हैं जहाँ पर आर्किटेक्ट ने बड़े फेलियर किए हैं. और ये बिल्डिंग कंट्रोल अथॉरिटी जो बनी यहाँ पे, 5-6 बिल्डिंगें गिरी यहाँ पर. बिस्मिल्लाह बिल्डिंग, मस्जिद स्क्वायर, फैयाज प्लाजा और बहुत से बिल्डिंग बनी. इसके बाद ये बिल्डिंग कंट्रोल अथॉरिटी बनी थी और उसमें क्वालिफाइड जो लोग थे आर्किटेक्ट्स, उन्होंने आके ज्वाइन किया था. सबसे पहले मैंने ज्वाइन किया था, मेरे तहकीक थी कि कोई 30 के करीब आर्किटेक्ट से वहाँ ज्वाइन किया था आगे. उससे पहले जो लाइसेंसिंग यहाँ होती थी KDA में, तो मुझे याद है कि जब मैं लाइसेंस लेने गया था तो वहाँ एक साहब ऐसे आए थे हैदराबाद सिंह से, जिनकी दूध की दुकान थी हैदराबाद में, और उसको लाइसेंस दिया गया था आर्किटेक्ट का. तो ये यहाँ पर है. दूसरी बात है कि जो आर्किटेक्ट जहाँ काम कर रहे हैं, जो पढ़ के आ रहे हैं यहाँ पे, जो स्कूल्स की जो बात हो रही है, कुछ स्कूल ऐसे हैं जो यहाँ कराची में है, कुछ वहाँ लाहौर में है, जहाँ पर के जिनका जो है डायरेक्शन जो है वो टुवर्ड्स आर्ट की तरफ है, इंजीनियरिंग की तरफ नहीं है. तो जब उनको कुछ पता नहीं होगा, क्वालिटी सर्वे का नहीं पता होगा, सीमेंटिंग का नहीं पता होगा, इलेक्ट्रिकल उनको नहीं पढ़ाया जाएगा, सेटिंग पढ़ाई जाएगी, तो कैसे वो काम करेंगे. मेरे भाई जो थे वो केस थे, वो जितने यहाँ प्रोजेक्ट बड़े पाकिस्तान में, मेरे बड़े भाई जो थे वो केस के परमेस में काम करते थे, कॉस्टिंग करते थे, सारी चीज़ें करते थे. लेकिन आई एम सॉरी टू से कि अब यहाँ लोगों को शौक ही होता है कि एक पढ़ने के बाद विदिन 1 ईयर
कि जो हमारा सिस्टम है
विदिन 1 ईयर वो लाइसेंस के लिए अप्लाई करते हैं और लाइसेंस लेके पढ़ाई शुरू कर देते हैं. तो अब जो है आई एम हैप्पी टू से कि PKT ने अभी रखा है कि 1 साल के बाद उनको इम्तहान होगा बाकायदा, फिर उनको मेंबरशिप मिलेगी PKT की.
बहुत अच्छी है, पार्ट ऑफ दैट कमिटी.
हाँ.
So we hope
So मैं
to get good
हाँ.
results. I think we'll take some more questions. Thank you. जी.
Ejaz Saheb, I wanted to ask you that you have such a large experience now in building construction, and obviously being an architect for such a long time. have you devised a contract for yourself which is foolproof? Then how do you expect?
There, look, today foolproof, tomorrow an architect, a lawyer will find a lacuna in it. But there are a few basic things that you should protect yourself with, and there are a few basic things that you need to continue to do during the period of the project that will keep you safer. Nothing. It's like saying earthquake-proof building. Is there such a thing as an earthquake-proof building? No. It's
but not 100%.
It's earthquake resistant
90%.
for known hits, for a known period. In an earthquake that happened, look at floodplain. Why do you have floods? You're not supposed to build in floodplains, but we do build in floodplains.
No, what my point is that, perhaps
There
engineers
is no
have
perfect
more...
agreement. AIA, RIBA, all their agreements, the lawyers have challenged. There is no foolproof. Yes, I have agreement. I have an agreement that it works, but it's not foolproof. The foolproof part comes, it fails because there are overlapping services where you begin to take the other responsibility.
And certain situations which are unique to the project, I guess.
Every project has a unique situation. Every project. Thanks.
I wanted to comment on, of course, the teacher methodology and incorporating the legal part of the documentation into it, and which year shall we incorporate it, or is professional practice, which is usually on the 4th year, is enough, or do we have to have a liability course separately prior thesis or in the earlier stages of foundation?
Well, yeah, good question. You don't, but you do need to have a framework to understand during education. And this question about CPD is where you train your architects as they go along in business. CPD is the point, because during schooling you just learn the basics. At least you know what to fear. It's like a child, it just keeps going. It doesn't know when it will fall because it doesn't have any fear. So it's a fear that you need to learn about, and it's the CPDs as you go along. You need to keep yourself updated.
There is another comment which I have recently inculcated, which was that I am too much in touch with the engineers these days because I am leading the ASHRAE chapter. So they are always very, very, very upset about how architects react towards the project, and they are not very cooperative. So I agree with you, and I wanted you to have a comment on that, very formal comments, that how, and because HVAC engineers are very upset that they design something but they are always saying nahi ye hona chahiye ya isko aise ghuma lo to uska wo.
I think it's a two-way street. I think it's a two-way street. What I found out is they need to be updated on their side also, and we need to learn to respect them also. Okay, so you cannot say that we are unreasonable. Many of the times I find them unreasonable too. We are unreasonable because if we say, look, they say, well, your air handling unit is going to hang 3 feet, right up to here. I don't want to see it. You go hide it, son. I don't want to see it. Now you can call me unreasonable. So, you must learn to come together.
Final question.
Just how you pretty aptly describe the complexity of our profession. I don't think anybody would deny that it's that complex. You went through the cause, effect, and solution of many of the issues that we face. But I wanted to talk about one of the causes that you mentioned in the beginning of your presentation that kind of dealt with drafting. And I came back a few years ago from the States. And one of the things that I find is that the draftsman and the drafting team is separate from the architects. And I mean, it's in the same studio, but I'm used to an architect's first job being as a draftsman.
Yeah.
Right? And like the graphic standards that an architect kind of works on when he's in school in that sort of time period, then like they understand that they need to communicate something through their drawing.
Yeah.
So
you're right. We are still in what we call the draftsman stage and an architect stage. The world has gone away from the draftsman. The architect is the draftsman, the architect is the thinker, the architect takes on the entire lead, and that is what education should now teach us. The concept of a draftsman is gone. Because draftsman used to be the lower end of the guy. You would just draw what you sketch. It's gone now. You have to be the architect and thinker. We're just behind times.
One of the scary things that I find about that is that, you know, the project that sort of initiated this discussion, I happened to be in the studio that came out from. What can happen is that the draftsman, over a period of time and having developed a relationship, like sometimes the draftsman stays at the firm longer than any other architect may, and they learn a lot about the profession, so they become sort of masters in a way. But that doesn't make them the architect or capable of being an architect. And I mean, there's a lot that we study in school that we should be challenged on in our licensing exams, which now we do have, which is great. But you know, it can't be that a draftsman becomes an architect just through an experience of being a draftsman.
Well, you know, interestingly, the world is really changing. Do you know, what is it? Amazon, look at the size of the company. Amazon has declared that degrees mean nothing in our employment. They don't. So said people are now very competent, as long as they're competent, that's fine. Now, what you're talking about is the depth of the thinking and thought and processes. One is skill, okay? The other is knowledge and thinking. That is the two things you need to separate. Skills are very easy to acquire. You can teach me 5,000 commands on a computer, I'll learn it. Very early in the computer game, I used to, in the old days, when CAD started, how you developed a square. You took a dot, you went down, you went 90 degrees this way, up, and connected that. That's how you made a square. Today you just say, give me a square of this size, it gives you. Okay, it's changed. So the training has to change also. We need to train our people differently. Why do you think Arif, to answer your question, why do you think that the project manager got invented? The project manager is only around 1970. He's a creature that came out of nowhere. And he got paid more than the architect. Even today he's paid more than the architect. Why is more paid than the architect? Because the owner is very happy that the project manager will be a policeman on the architect and the contractor. So in a sense, you as architects have lost your role over time by saying, this is not my responsibility, this is not my responsibility, ये मेरी नहीं है, वो मेरी नहीं है, ये मेरी नहीं है. उन्होंने कहा ठीक है, फिर ये दूसरा आदमी आया, ये कह रहा है मैं सब लेने तैयार हूँ. That is the real reason why the project manager has come. अभी मैं देख रहा था IBM में projects चल रहे थे couple of years ago. I mean the Mott McDonald whoever was doing the project management was getting more than the architect. So you lost your trust with the owner. Remember, the architects need to establish your own base and power. We are becoming subservient. We are not, and we shouldn't become arrogant either. We must listen. You can listen, and people will listen to reason, let me tell you. And always don't run away from a contractor, from a client. Respond to him immediately. Yes or no doesn't matter. You respond. It's very easy for a project manager to say, साहब ये नहीं दिया उन्होंने, ये नहीं दिया, आर्किटेक्ट ने ये नहीं दिया, वो नहीं दिया, वो नहीं दिया. So time delay हो गया. So उन्होंने कहता well charge somebody. Somebody's got to pay for it. तो ये हमारी अपनी भी है, कुछ जिम्मेदारी हमको लेनी है. But the fact is, यहाँ the जिम्मेदारी is getting into fabrication, into erection. I mean, you haven't been trained for that. Okay? I have to tell people, भाई weld कौन सा इस्तेमाल कर रहे हो? अब welding rod, ठीक है, I happen to know, so I know welding rod सब अच्छा वाला है. Okay, अच्छा वाला क्या है? Every welding rod for a different type of a weld. So you need to understand welding type. This is what I'm saying, the education towards material and construction needs to have a bigger concentration rather than design. Design में तो जैसे कहते हैं ना, you have a lifetime to be creative. Okay?
Construction observation and not supervision. That's my take home for tonight. Thank you, Ejaz Ahed. I'd like to thank PCAT for making this CPD event earning point program. And I'll also like to thank architectmedia.pk for making live streaming available online for this program. I'd like to call upon Chairman Ramis Beg and Ejaz Ahed to give a memento.
liability needs to be discussed.
CPD पॉइंट है आगे 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 आ जाएंगे पीछे नहीं आएगा नहीं आगे आगे